Good morning, chatters. How you doing? Or whatever time or year or whatever it is for you. It's been a week, and I just wanted to take a moment to capture this moment for us, because it is really an us moment. For the people who have been listening to me, watching me, I don't know, interacting with me. You're all so fabulous. And I am taken aback by what has happened this last week, which is the release of the GPT store, which overall not very impressive. I'm sure it'll get better, but not great. But there was one happy surprise, which is when it was released and I finally got access, I was scrolling through all the GPTs that were up on like all the trending lists, and I get to productivity, and what do I see there? Number 11, the professor. I go to bed that night and I wake up, it goes up to 9. Later on that day, it goes back down to 10. And now I wake up this morning and it's sitting pretty at number 5, which is insanity. I am just so overwhelmed by the support and value people have gotten from the professor. And I just wanted to make sure that I take a moment to thank you all for your support, because really this is a win for us. If you go on to the GPT store, it's not a lot of great stuff right now, unfortunately. And it's a lot of stuff that was like plugins before, but the professor is ours. Like now we have proven that we can have something that is open to the world, right? You can literally go on my GitHub right now and see the prompt that is behind this thing. I'm not trying to hide it from anybody, and you can go take that and make it your own. And still, this is rising through the ranks because you all are using it. And by you all using it, you're allowing me to connect with you on some level, to work with me, to build this movement that I want to build with you. And I'm wearing my Boss STEM shirt right now. And that's because before doing all this AI stuff, I was over at the United Way of Mass Bay, located in Boston. And I was brought on over 6 years ago at this point to run this initiative, which centered around supporting and facilitating the interest and engagement of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, for Boston Public School students, both in the school but primarily through out-of-school time programs, doing hands-on activities, and visiting different STEM companies to get kids interested in STEM. And a lot of what I would actually do as part of this job was try to make connections between and amongst people I thought had the same mission, were working towards the same goal. I believe that education and science in particular are two of the most effective ways to make the world a better place. And not just in terms of technological advances, but just in terms of making it so your lot in life can improve, that you can have some mobility. To really see this as a vision for the flourishing of intelligence, and the more intelligence we can provide to people, the more they can understand about the world, about society, ultimately the better off we'll be. We really do want to increase the number of capable people in the world overall, no matter where you're coming from, because ultimately that's what's going to drive us past these issues we have always had in the history of humanity. I just wanted to take a moment to breathe before we really get on this roller coaster together and think about where I want to lead us. And this is tough because you're always balancing wanting to empower people and have them be the leader, but also casting a vision and a trajectory for folks to follow, which is not to say they can't follow a different trajectory or end up in a different place, but we all want to be heading in a similar direction. To me, that direction with AI is really difficult to pin down. I think we've heard a lot about the possibilities, both good and bad, but we haven't quite yet been shown what this actual future is that we're heading towards, which obviously we're not fortune tellers. We can't ever know. But what I mean is we have this overly optimistic vision or this overly pessimistic vision. And I want to lead us down the pragmatic path, which is to say we're not heading towards a utopia and we're not heading towards the complete breakdown of civilization or annihilation of the human species. Because neither of those is what anyone wants, right? So where are we heading? I want to lead us toward a future Where do I want to lead us? This is the problem. I'm not much of a leader. At least not by choice. And I keep coming back to my vision may not be your vision. And so how do you not take a utilitarian approach here where it's like the greatest good for the greatest number of people, which has all kinds of issues associated with it, especially for those that have been marginalized in the past, are not necessarily a developed nation yet, are working on it. How does this help all of us? How do we create a cooperative game here where we're working together towards a future we can all be proud of, what we want to leave for the generations to come, because we have failed in that regard. A lot of that has to do with incentives. A lot of it has to do with the fact that as humans, we are like goldfish in some ways. We have very short-term memory on the scale of existence. It makes it hard to think past what is right in front of us. Let's look a little bit more into the future. What I would like to see is that Professor Synapse and his like are available to every single person in the world. The highest quality models in the hands of your everyday person, and that it is accessible, meaning that everyone has a different level of technological know-how, savvy, ability to do things with technology. I'm constantly overestimating what people's knowledge is. We all do this, the things that we're super interested and knowledgeable about. We have this fallacy that develops in our mind that now everyone has the knowledge that we have. It's not the case. So what that means is that no matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, you should be able to use this technology. The tip of your fingers. Anytime, anywhere. That's number one. Number two, we need to think about how we are dealing with this incentive system that's going to arise. We're starting to see glimmers of social media incentives come up in AI, which is that there is a need to capture attention. Because to capture attention is to capture your wallet. This is very dangerous. And even I worry about Professor Synapse and how he's capturing your attention and your time. I'm very aware always of how scattered we've become in our attention. So my hope with the professor and everything I do is to really try to help funnel your attention into something that is productive and or meaningful to you, to help you get past that initial barrier to action. Because I find the hardest part is not going from 1 to 10, but going from 0 to 1. It's really getting started on things and having like that plan to move forward, which is going to tap into your intrinsic motivation and provide you with some momentum to move forward with what you're trying to accomplish. I want to protect and strengthen your attention. And I think we've seen that. I hope that's been the case. The fact that I'm just like this dude who created this prompt and we're starting to see it blow up in and amongst all these other, your typical thing, right? Get rich, fix your prompts, read a PDF. I don't know. I'm so blown away and so gracious to you all for using this and believing in it. Thank you. This is Midge. She's a kitten we rescued. She will often come and cuddle with me at inopportune moments like this. Maybe if you're lucky, she'll stick her butt in the camera or my face. I don't know, guys. This is what I want. I want to be authentic and raw and transparent with you all. I think we've gotten away from who we are as people and ironically turned ourselves into like little robots, which is to say that we are driven by the image we want people to have of us. And we cultivate that image as a brand or whatever it might be. Concern that separates us from our own humanity. And that we're continuing to herd ourselves into, I don't know, a prison of our own making. A space where we feel less and less control over our lives. A space where the extreme voices on either side of any spectrum appear as the majority to us. And maybe it's time we take back the middle here. It's time that our voice gets heard, the voice of balance, the voice of a future where we can all really agree is where we would like to head. Focus a lot on our differences and what separates us. We get outraged. I don't like it, because that's not most of us. Most of us are just living our day to day. Most of us are respectful to people, even if we don't know them. Most of us are nice. Maybe in moments we're jerks, but overall, we're human. I miss being human. I miss being imperfect and messy and different, but not snowflake different. The permission to be different. To be a nerd about that thing that you're a nerd about. And to experience joy in the things that make us different, as opposed to comparing ourselves, being anxious about conforming, being confused about where to stand on issues that may be important to us or may not be. Realize I'm ranting. I didn't really have a plan for this video, and that was the point. I just wanted to take a moment and think about the fact that, at least as of writing this right now, or recording this as of right now, Professor Synapse, a prompt I created months ago and have been refining, and is really meant for the world, for you all, has broken through to a global audience. And what that means for us, because it really is about us, at whatever point you're joining on this journey, we get to write the future. And I know it doesn't feel like that. It feels overwhelming. It feels like, what can I actually do to make a difference? There's probably a lot of pressure to race toward profit and to hold on to your property, to be greedy because we feel like there is a limited pie and we need to grab pieces of that pie before there's no pie left. I would like to just bake a bigger pie with you all. And I hope you'll join us for that, because really we need you. Yes, I'm building a company. Companies. Yes, just like anyone else, I love to be wealthy and make a lot of money, obviously, and get all the cats in the world. But that's not what this is about. Not really. It's about finding a way together to head towards a future that we can all agree is best for all of us. Where we are still human, where it's not a perfect world, where there are still issues. But those issues make us stronger. Those issues bring us closer together. And these issues help demonstrate how we can overcome obstacles together in support of one another. I live in a lonely world now, or at least that's what it can feel like. We're in our heads, constantly thinking about what other people are thinking about us, constantly stressed about work, life, relationships. Spent a few years locked down and separated from one another. That just reinforced this loneliness. So I want AI to bring us together. And the first step to that is Professor Synapse. Because really, the philosophy behind Professor Synapse from the very beginning is how can AI help you accomplish what you want to accomplish? And how do we do so in a way that fills you up rather than drains you? I'm not going to sit here and say at this point, I have a vision for the future of the world in AI. I do to some extent, but it's not our vision yet. It's just my vision. So I want you to think long and hard about where you want to end up with all this. I want to know, what is a future you want to live in? And not only that, what is a future you want to live in where if you were just thrown in randomly, cast the die, and you ended up in this society that you have imagined, would you be okay with it? Would you be okay randomly being thrown into this future society? I want to build this with you all because I need your help. I can't do this alone. I'm not even sure I want to be the one to do this, but it doesn't feel like there's enough people who are talking about this and thinking about it in a way that leads us to where we want to be. And I'm scared that in this moment of speed and confusion and urgency, we're going to lose sight of where we want to end up. I'm just going to keep talking about this stuff. I think I'll end with just that classic video where there's this guy, maybe he's at a concert or something, and he's just dancing alone, like a wild child, in the middle of a field, surrounded by people just sitting down. And it's a little awkward. Everyone's like looking at him and laughing and saying, "Hey, that's so funny." But there's this moment where, because he just keeps doing it, some rando joins him. And he invites this random person in and starts dancing with him. And then suddenly, like that, there's a flood of people. A cascade of dancers. That's who I want. I want to be the fool dancing in the middle of a field surrounded by people because I like to dance and because it brings me and I believe others joy. And I invite you as that first person to join me in dancing Because that is the power that we have. Is that once we get a few people dancing with us, we're going to see a flood. And when we have a flood, we have a movement. And when we have a movement, we can shape this future together instead of allowing other people to shape it for us. Again, I am so grateful to you all for using the professor, for being so kind, and for listening to this random guy and his cat. Let's do this, guys. We got this.